For a synergy as unique as Amorphous, it is honestly one of my favorite synergies to play, simply due to the limitless possibilities of team compositions. Some might say it's a hard synergy to play, as it's basically a puzzle that forces you to piece up as many synergies as you can with your team on the fly. Even if you force the Amorphous every game, you can almost never end up with the same exact team, and that is the beauty of Amorphous that I've come to appreciate. As I move along the PvE rounds, collecting item components, and into the first item carousel which I picked up a second magnet. When it comes to itemization, Amorphous can be pretty versatile. In most of Amorphous builds, I either build full attack speed items or full AP and PP generation items, both of which benefits from either the speed stats that is provided by the synergy itself or the various hypercarry units that has the potential to completely wipe out teams even with just a soul deal equipped. In the first ad pick, there weren't any Amorphous options, so I just took the magnet along with the core fish, and with 3 magnets, it's pretty evident which build I'll be opting for. Then as the second pick came along, where I added in a why not. Having more Amorphous units in the pool is always good as it lets you have more options to pick and choose when building your team. Heading into the next PvE round, a shiny Gyarados appeared, so every player will be given shiny items to choose from. As I was rolling the shop for Amorphous units, I wasn't able to hit 5 Amorphous, which would have increased the chance for more Amorphous portals to appear during the carousel round. But after beating up the shiny Gyarados with 5 uninvolved units, let's see what shiny items will be offered to me. Well, I guess technically my intro has already given away the shiny item I ended up with, but just pretend you didn't already know. Then for my unique selection, I chose Cryogonal, which was the better unit between the two, and it also activates 2 ice with Vanillite. I then gave it the repeat ball, a red orb, and punching gloves. As the rounds go by, the more I reroll the shop, the higher Cryogonal's speed gets, and pairing it with these 2 items will only further boost its DPS. I also crafted the green orb to give it to the why not, sustaining my front lines while the Cryogonal melt down the enemy units. As I head into my first actual battle, this player picked the White Flute for their shiny item, but is running a fairy team with the new Ndidi uniques added in the latest patch. From the damage chart, you can see the substantial damage being dealt by the Cryogonal. This was a long fight, and it was even holding its own despite being outnumbered against 3 enemy Pokémon, but it eventually won me the round, which was the beginning of my win streak. For the third ad pick, I prioritized getting the Miracle Seed in case I needed Rune Protect for my front lines, and immediately I was able to evolve a Wobbuffet and Kakuna, and a Metapod shortly after as well. Having Bug 2 and Amorphous is great, as the Bug clone would also gain the additional HP and speed, and for my case, adding another frontliner that is just there to stall for my Cryogonal to deal damage. In the next fight against this fire team, they had the Dynamax Band as their shiny item, which substantially increases the holder's HP. But the itemization of my Cryogonal was a perfect counter to this, with Punching Glove dealing additional damage equal to 8% of the target's max HP, and the Red Orb that allows for 25% of damage dealt in true damage. It eventually shredded down the Turtonator and further extending my win streak. In the next item carousel, since there weren't black glasses for me to pick up for the Krantz tag, I settled for a hard skill, and eventually crafted a muscle band to give to the Wobbuffet. Then while rolling the shop, I picked up a Munna, which was another Amorphous unit. Adding the Munna into the team would now give me 2 Psychic, which I eventually plan to replace it with the Services. For now, it shall remain as a synergy filler. This next fight was against the first place player, who was running a dark team with a repeat ball as their shiny item too. But my team was too well itemized to the point where none of my units died in that fight. Although I can't say the same for this next fight though, as we faced this normal team with an Eviolite on their Glameow. The fight went on for quite a bit, and the enemy was able to make it to my Cryogonal, but despite number disadvantage, the Cryogonal still manages to clutch a 1v3, so my win streak continues to live on. Then for the Mewtwo and Mew PvE round, I was given a Charcoal and picked up yet another magnet. The shop also immediately gave me another Munna, evolving it into a Mushana, and I also picked up a Coffin, yet another Amorphous unit. Ideally, I should have immediately crafted an X-ray vision and protective pads since there was a normal team in this game, but I wanted to hold out on my item components, hoping I would still get a black glasses for a cleanse tag. Moving on to the next fight against this fighting team, nothing unusual happened during the fight, just Cryogonal doing its thing, dealing huge amount of damage, until the enemy units were perfectly surrounding my Wobbuffet, and with a single cast, my Wobbuffet nuked all adjacent enemy units, managing to overtake the Cryogonal in damage dealt. Pretty satisfied with my position in the game right now, sitting on a 6-win streak ever since the unique carousel, and swiftly moving into the next fight against yet another fighting team. My Wobbuffet was once again able to cast and deal huge damage to the front lines, but eventually fell, leaving Cryogonal to finish off the remaining units. Since Marowak appeared in the next item carousel, it indicates that the next PvE round will be much harder, especially with Ho-Oh and Lugia both having a shiny item each. But back to the item carousel, the only black glasses in the carousel was taken, so I settled for a Never Melt Ice. Realizing that it's probably unlikely that I do get a black glasses for the next PvE round, so I finally gave my Vanillux the X-ray vision and protective pads, serving as a temporary secondary backline damage dealer. As we head into the next fight, it was against a Grass Gourmet team, with a crit built Hydrapple. Sadly, he didn't have a shiny item as he lost in the Gyarados PvE round way back earlier. So as a form of compensation, if you haven't already, do check out his video featuring an insane wild team. But anyway, without a shiny item, this was obviously an easy win for me. Essentially just dumping all my gold into EXP so I can level up faster and put in more units to activate more synergies. But here I noticed that I was only at 30 rerolls, and for uniques to have a chance to appear in my shop, I needed to be at 80 rerolls and 120 rerolls for legendaries. So I needed to hit level 8 as quick as possible and just start rerolling the shop if I want a chance for additional unique or legendary. Into the next fight against this fairy team with the white flute, the outcome of the fight didn't really change, other than my win streak counter going up. Despite the shiny items on the legendary duo, I still made it past and defeated both units twice, and as expected, I was given a magnet anyway, so my last item would be a choice scarf. My legendary option turned out to be Darkrai. Not gonna lie, was hoping for Nihilego instead for the poison synergy and its special defense reduction, but Darkrai will have to do for now, as I sold my Cryogonal to transfer its items onto the Darkrai. Then as I rerolled into 2 Dittos, I evolved my Ghastly into a Haunter, and also sold my Vanillux to repurpose its items onto the Haunter. The first fight after the legendary carousel was against the Dark team, which has a Yveltal now as their legendary, but with my damage dealers safely tucked away in the back, there weren't any difficulties in winning this battle. During the preparation phase in the next round, I eventually rolled into my first unique in Regice, along with a Solosis, which I can finally now replace the Moshana with it. Heading to the next fight, it was finally against the normal team, and with my Darkrai and Haunter absolutely shredding down all of their shields and eventually their HP as well, extending into my 11th win streak. In the item carousel, since I was comfortably sitting in first place, I was released last and could only settle for a Stardust, and eventually equipping it onto my Wobbuffet. Facing this fighting team for my next fight, it was a long drawn out fight and it was looking grim at some point, with 7 of their units against 3 of mine, until Wobbuffet took 3 down along with it as it fell, while Darkrai and Haunter took on the Cobalion and eventually winning the battle, marking my 12th win in a row. Nothing too significant happened during this preparation phase, other than just more shop rerolling and evolving a Duosion with the help of a Ditto. So we skip into the next fight, which was against the second fighting team. It was going really well until my Weezing casted and left the smoke screen on the battlefield, and unfortunate enough, 2 out of 3 surviving units walked straight into it, which had their accuracy cut down by 50%, so they were struggling to even land their attacks, eventually handing the enemy the win. Here you can see I froze a Roaring Moon in my shop, which also meant that I have finally hit the threshold of 120 rerolls, so legendaries can now appear in my shop. As the PvE round went on, I contemplated on whether to keep the legendary, but eventually decided it wouldn't be a good fit. For the item rewards, both Soul Deal and X-Ray Vision were great options, but I settled for the X-Ray Vision and gave it to a Duosion. Then after rerolling for a bit, a Reshiram appeared in the shop, and I once again was considering adding it into the team. For now, it can stay on the bench. So as we head into the next fight against this very psychic team, but with the extra wild units from the White Flute, an extra tanky Chansey and Victini. My team got easily ran over as my front line couldn't hold out for very long against that many units, eventually leading to yet another loss. I quickly realized that the current team isn't going to cut it for a victory after all those other teams, but there is still one last thing I could place my bets on. If I roll enough, surely I'll roll into one of the other two Amorphous legendaries. And perhaps that might be the biggest difference maker. And soon enough, another Darkrai appeared in the shop, but I don't think 2 Darkrai's is going to be all that much useful, so I skipped past it, hoping to get either of the other 2 Amorphous legendaries. But as I was busy rerolling, this fight against the Cobalion fighting team also quickly went south, which came to a loss that now puts me at 16 HP, potentially one loss away from being eliminated. The next round is an item carousel round, so I tried to nab the green orb to hopefully provide more sustainability for my team. Then as I rerolled down to 33 gold, there it finally was, a Melmetal, with Steel and Amorphous synergy. Not the easiest to slide into my team either, but I'll take what I can get. Immediately during the preparation phase, I swapped out units to try triple wielding legendaries in my team, and gave them any leftover items that would go well on them. I basically threw that round, and by some miracle, I still survived on 1 HP. Thankfully, the next round was the Wild Beast PvE round, so I still had time to readjust my team. With a bit of rolling, a Beldum appeared and was pretty much the final piece of the puzzle, as I added in both Steel and Artificial synergy. For the item rewards, I took the Flame Orb that doubles the attack stats of the holder, so I immediately equipped it onto the Melmetal, given its high base attack stats and its unique speed into attack conversion as well. And swapping in the Beldum for the Reshiram, activating Artificial 2 gave me a Toxic Orb, which I then gave to the Melmetal again. With his current items, his attack stats is basically quadrupled, and with a bit of repositioning, here goes the second last fight of the match. The Melmetal has a whopping 120 attack stat, and it can easily two-shot any unit. So fighting this fairy psychic team turned out completely different than the previous fight, and he was also eliminated by the other player, leaving only 2 players remaining now. Then during the preparation phase, I decided to roll as much of my gold to give the Darkrai as much bonus speed as I can. Even as we entered the final battle, I was still rerolling, but time to face this normal team with a Deoxys? With my Haunter providing team-wide fatigue and perfectly itemized to shred the shields of the normal team, Darkrai dealing both HP base and true damage. In the end, it was still a close fight, with both sides legendary and ultra units still standing, but a cast from my Duosion managed to splash onto the Deoxys at the back, leaving a Porygon 2 to stand against my Darkrai and Duosion. But alas, victory is mine, with both remaining units getting by with just a slither of health. This was a really fun and intense game of Amorphous, especially with the chaos factor of the shiny items. But hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.